Let's have some fun and talk about real estate agents, because let's face it, it does seem sometimes like they are on every corner. We're going to talk about three things in particular. One, we're going to talk about Price's Law. Two, we're going to talk about how to make it so that they actually return your phone calls and your emails. And thirdly, we're going to have a look at how to get in their good books so that you have access to the good listings, like the new ones and the ones that are off market. There's another agent across the road there. So Price's Law, this is something that I picked up probably only last year. And in short terms, it's half the revenue is made in an industry by the square root of the number of competitors. Okay, did that get you to the stage where you're wondering what's going on? I remember when I first got that information, I had to think, when did I work with square roots? Was that in primary school or was that in high school? So let's make that in a little bit more common sense. Let's say you had $1 million worth of sales in an area, commercial sales, and you had 25 real estate agents in that area. Well, Price's Law is that half of the revenue, so that's $500,000, would have been made by 5 of those agents. And the other $500,000 would have been made by the other 20 agents in that area. So there's a big difference between successful agents and those who struggle. The main players would have picked up $100,000 a year each, and the smaller players will pick up about 20 grand a year. Here you go. I knew there'd be another real estate agent around here somewhere. Alright, so that's Price's Law. It just lets you know that some agents are busier than others. So we're going to go back to the office now, and we're going to talk about how to find those ones and then make the most value out of them. Welcome back to the office. Now, we were talking about Price's Law. So how do you find those top 5 agents, for argument's sake? There's a couple of things you can do, but I think the easiest thing is just get yourself a blank piece of paper and a pen, something that looks like that, and have a look at your favourite website, be it commercialrealestate.com.au or realcommercial.com.au. And start having a look at the suburb that you're interested in or the region that you're looking at. And what you will find is start to write down just the listings. They may not be the ones that you look for, because let's face it, you're probably only going to find 2, maybe 3 of the type of listings you're looking for. So we're just doing a broad view at this particular point of time. The first one may be Smith & Co. Real Estate, and the second one might be Brown & Co. Real Estate, and the third one may be Wang, and the fourth one may be Garcia, and then suddenly you find another one for Wang and another one for Brown and another one for someone that you haven't got, and then it goes back to Wang and then it goes back to Brown. You will find that if you put down, say, 20 or 30 listings of any type in the commercial area, you'll start to see who is in that sweet spot of Price's Law. That suddenly lets you know who the players are that you want to deal with. Now, why do you want to deal with these people? Well, they've got more listings, more buyers, much better knowledge of the particular area. These are the type of people who will be able to tell you straight away on what the cap rate is and what the ROI is for a property. They'll be able to work out WALE. These are the things that we spoke about in last week's video. And most importantly, you may have to ask yourself, well, what differentiates the two? As opposed to the big players and the little players. The little players you will 9 times out of 10 find out are actually specialist residential agents who just happen to have a listing. Most of those agents only have 1, maybe 2 listings at the most in the commercial space. So it's not a field of expertise for them. And I've seen some shocking things. I've seen wrong contracts written up because the residential agent says, well, anyone can do commercial real estate, can't they? And only to find out the hard way that it isn't. Now, there may be properties that you like, but just recognise that you're going to be dealing with someone who's probably going to be short on knowledge. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is, okay, you're going to contact these people. How do you get them to return your call? And this is the biggest criticism that we have in the industry. Agents just do not call back people. Now, I'm not going to defend the position. I mean, it's one of the things I actually like because, I have the motto of, good service sells. And my main claim to fame is I answer the phone and I answer emails. However, There's also the other side of the coin. Think of yourself in a situation where you're at work. You may be at your desk working away on your computer and the phone rings. Now, it could be an interruption. You may not know who it is. Do you drop your work or what you're working on now and pick it up? Or, if you're in the office and someone comes in, all right, do you want to spend a lot of time talking with this person, or do you want to keep working on what you've got? And that is what happens with real estate agents. We get a lot of calls, and I mean, we get a lot of calls, or the busy ones do anyway. And I'm constantly having to make sure that I focus on the priority. Now, how do you become part of that priority? When you talk to your agent, make sure that you've already got your finance lined up. Or at least at the stage where you know what your budget is from your bank and that you've got a decent chance of getting it. Because the worst thing for a real estate agent is to be working with someone who hasn't even gone to the bank yet. It's such a remote chance of getting a sale that while they are spending 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour talking with you or even taking you around, that means somebody else who probably has money and is serious isn't getting serviced. And it is an industry that is very highly competitive. That's why there's so many of them. If there's only one or two, it wouldn't be an issue. But if you're working on someone who's not going to be bringing you money, you're losing out because someone else is taking care of the person who has got money. So be serious. Know what you're doing. Have your company set up. Have your trustee account set up. You can do all these things before you actually get to the stage of looking for properties. Have an idea on what properties you want to look at. Talk to the agent about the one. Ask the proper questions that you've got. Can you get me the material? Quite often you will find that on advertising there's not a lot on that because the agents want you to ring. I'm not a big fan of that practice, but it's a practice. So make sure you know what questions you want to ask. Apart from how much is it, you want to know what the ROI is. You want to know what the cap rate is. What is the market like in that area? Are there other sheds available? Are there other complexes available? What are the tenants like? Is it a safe area? Is it a flood zone? Have those questions ready to pummel them. You just go bang, 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 bang. Because that tells an agent, whoa, this person's serious. They know what they're doing, especially if they've got their money and legal entity ready to go. And explain to them you're looking at properties, you're looking to schedule some time to come up and have a look. What have they got available? You can see this one for argument's sake, but what else is there? And that's the type of questions you got. You ask a real estate agent those type of questions and be ready. You will find that they will call you back. And what they'll do is they put your name in the mobile phone, add to contacts, so that when they're working and that phone rings and your name comes up, their eyes light up, they pick it up and they'll answer it. So be serious about buying a property, treat your agent seriously, and you'll find that they will return your calls and return your emails. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is developing relationships. Odds are you're not going to find that first property in your first look. The market for commercial real estate is 10% the size of residential. So it's not a big market by any standards. And there's a lot of buyers, especially now that the government has changed the taxation on residential. It means there's going to be a lot of residential investors starting to look at commercial. So if you think it's been hard getting your property to now, it's going to get a lot harder. So how do you develop those relationships? You now know how to find those price law agents, and they're the ones who are going to get the volume. So connect with them on a monthly basis. Don't hound them, but just let them know, ask them a question, send them an email, send them a text once a month. Anything new? I saw something in Bundaberg that the hospital's being rebuilt. How will that impact on commercial real estate, for argument's sake? Something that's worth a discussion. And you will find the agents will slowly put you into what they call a tickle file. A tickle file is essentially every now and then we tickle the customer, let them know they're all right. Are they still buying? Are they still in the market? Because when something does come up, I know this is how I work. When something comes up, the first thing I look at is who would be interested in this? I'm essentially lazy. If I don't have to advertise, if I can put somebody in there from an off-market sale who's already got the cash, who's already got their legal name in place and is keen, I'm going to go that way. So that's how you manage your real estate agents. Now remember one final point. The real estate agent is bound legally to the seller, not the buyer. So their interest is on protecting the seller. I recognise that most real estate agents think they actually work for the buyer because the buyer has the money. However, the professionals will be working for the seller. So that means that they will have things that they may not be able to tell you. That means that if it becomes an issue of one or the other, they will go towards the seller's aspect. So you need to just recognize that whilst they're friendly and happy to help you, they're actually getting paid by the seller, and that will influence their behavior and their decision making. So wrapping up today's episode, we're going to have a look at doing some homework. So what I want you to do is have a look through those listings that you have, find 2 or 3 that you're interested in, or even if you've got some already shortlisted that you haven't gone to the stage of ringing up the agent. And I do recommend your first contact being a phone call. It helps to build relationships. It helps to hear the voice of the agent, and you can pick up a lot more from that than you can by an email. We get emails all the time, and unfortunately, the way of the world is people don't answer emails anymore, but they will answer a phone call. If an agent gets your phone and it's a number that they do not recognize, their first assumption is it's a potential buyer, so they will answer that first phone call. So make sure you put an impact on that first phone call. The things that I want you to do is have a look at the property and get enough information to work out the financial ratios. That's what we did last week. So if you haven't already done so, go and have a look at that video. And that will start to give you a feeling of what the cap rate is and what the return on investment is on those properties in those areas or that industry. And finally, if you haven't already done so, read chapter 6 in Commercial Reality. That's the one that deals with selections and inspections, because that is what we're starting to do now. We're having a look at selecting these properties. We've shortlisted them, now we're selecting them, and then we're going to inspect them. So it's time for you to read chapter 6 and enjoy it. All right, that's it for this week. Look forward to catching up with you next week. Take care and God bless.